Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Tanner O'Brien. I'm a senior partner here at Action Coach in Central Texas. Today, I'm sitting down with Leandro Vallejos, who is the founder and CEO of Pearl Tech Incorporated. Leandro, I'm so excited to have you here and kind of dive in, talk a little bit about your business, talk about kind of your journey into entrepreneurship and all that fun stuff. But why don't we just start with a little bit of background? If you would kind of give us I'll say the 10,000 foot view, kind of the just high level view of kind of who you are, like what's a little bit of your background, and tell us a little bit about Pearl Tech.
Yeah, so I guess to start off with some of my background, I really got into the tech world. I really started like getting fascinated by it when I was 16. I When I was turned 17, I wrote a senior project predicting the future of humanity, inspired by different physicists, futurists, all of that. And I jumped into the financial market. I also learned to program data science. I'm a software engineer myself. And I also used my thesis to essentially make investments, which the thesis ended up working out great. Um, and then about 2 years ago, I jumped into the startup world. Once I jumped into the startup world, the first company that I started was this company called Vibes. It was a social startup. And then it ended up merging with another company called Maple. And then after that, after I left Maple, I started Pearl. And it just went through a pivot, and now it's a hedge fund.
Excellent. So, what was the original iteration? If it just went through a pivot, maybe take us through kind of what that looks like,
Yeah, so originally when it started out, it was another social app, but it was focused on dating specifically.
and
So
then pivoted to hedge fund.
yes, yeah,
Interesting. So tell me more about that. Like what led to that to I guess on the outside looking in, that seems like a very drastic pivot.
yes.
Maybe not, but maybe give me some context on what kind of caused the pivot and maybe a little bit deeper on what the business does today.
Yeah. So essentially the cause for the pivot was I was working on the previous Pearl for about a year. We were getting some users in, we were getting some people in, but after a bit of time, I realized, okay, I'm not sure if I want to continue working on this specific thing for the next 2 to 3 years. So I was like, okay, I'm still really passionate about the social aspect, but I feel like if I'm consistently having to fundraise, since it takes a bit of time to really develop that product, and the way that I thought about it was like, even if we bring users, what's the retention like? Because if you bring in 10,000 users, 50,000 users, it doesn't matter if they're not going to stay. So continuously fundraising for that, I felt like it would have taken a long time. So my idea was, okay, I'll go into financial markets. I'm really good at it. I have 31% annualized returns over many, many years. And we may potentially get into private equity, and then it'll be able to essentially run many tests on social apps, or and also potentially help out friends who are working on social apps. I know two different ones as well too. And
Very
now,
cool.
mhm, mhm. and
Awesome.
mhm.
Go ahead. Keep going.
So now after the pivot, we're setting up a hedge fund, and we're focusing on the thesis that I originally wrote back in 2015 when I was 17 years old, and we're also focusing on hedging with macroeconomic cycles.
Very cool. I'm excited to kind of dive into it a little bit. But as we do, I always like to kind of continue to set the stage for the audience, just to get because we talk to so many different business owners and different entrepreneurs, and kind of getting a sense of where they're at in their business journey. So there's kind of two pieces that I'm curious on for your journey specifically. First one is for Pearl Tech Incorporated.
Mhm.
Co-founder, single founder? Do you have additional business partners with you, or are you doing this completely on your own? Kind of what does that part of the journey look like for you?
Yeah, so I do have a team member. His name is Mohammed. I've worked with him in the past. I worked with him during the my first startup, and then also during the previous one as well too. So yeah, there's two of us, but we're also looking to expand the team as well to bring on a third person.
Cool.
Mhm.
So in like the life cycle, you still straight up in startup phase where we're potentially not. I guess easiest question is, are we at revenue yet? We still kind of pre-revenue, kind of building out the platform and everything at this point. Where are you at in the overall journey of kind of the business growth and cycle?
So in terms of the fund itself, the fund itself is being set up, going through all the legal processes and everything. But with my personal track record, the thesis has already proven revenue, and it's proven 31% annualized over 4 years. So but that's of course with my own personal one. Now the fund is being set up to essentially execute the thesis.
Very cool. So what does your role look like as you kind of get everything off the ground and starting to roll? What I always like to ask the general question for most entrepreneurs: how many different hats do you have to wear in the business today? There's between marketing, sales, finance, operations, kind of HR team, IT, like all the stuff that could be right. Which hats are you currently wearing, or where are you spending most of your time, even with regards to kind of roles within the business?
Yeah, so the most of my time that I spend is currently fundraising. That's a key role. But of course, I'm also really spending a lot of time doing investment analysis and macroeconomic analysis. I do a little bit of coding myself too, but my team member, Mohammed, he's essentially leading the development structure.
Cool. And as you continue to grow, just knowing different skill sets, things like that, do you anticipate that you'll continue on the path and really kind of be CEO and run the actual business itself, or will you be bringing on team members that have a little bit more experience potentially in the actual running of the business side of things?
Yeah, so I still see myself as being the CEO and continuously fundraising and making on those investment analysis. But we definitely will be bringing along other analysts, other people who will look at the macroeconomic terms to expand the team. It's always good to have other people's point of views, and but we are also we don't want to be a traditional hedge fund where we're focusing on just financial analysts. We're really looking for software engineers. We're really looking for AI engineers. We're looking for mathematicians. So we don't really want to go into that traditional base since we believe that everything is quantifiable and that even things like news is quantifiable to an extent when you use artificial intelligence for our model. So we're going that route more than the traditional hedge fund route.
Very cool. So let's dive into that part of the business a little bit. I'm always curious. I like to ask the general question of like, who does your business serve? If I'm in the audience and like, how would I know that either I'm a good fit or I might know somebody that I should connect y'all with or something like that to be a part of and work with y'all down the road? How would you kind of articulate that to the audience?
Yeah, so the people that we're targeting originally for the initially for the fund is high net worth individuals. We're looking at family offices. We're also looking at private equities. In the long term, we'll be going into different uh, larger institutions. It could be endowments, pensions, things like that. But in the further long term, we really want to essentially not just make money for already people who are already rich, but also make money for people who want to invest. So the general population, but that's further down the line.
Okay, very cool. So high net worth, kind of established offices, things like that is kind of the primary target to begin with.
Yeah,
What does that look like in terms of starting kind of the marketing and getting the word out about what y'all do? Kind of what's the plan there, or kind of what have you started to do at this point to get in front of the target market that will be best fit for this business?
absolutely. So since I've been in the startup world, I'm leveraging all my connections right now. Every connection that I made, I'm leveraging. So even if the people who I'm connected to are not specifically in the hedge fund world or asset management fund world, I always ask for introductions to different fund managers. And people are a lot of the times when you ask, they're very happy to introduce. But aside from already the network that I already have, we'll be writing different things like blogs on our thesis on what we believe the current market environment is going to look like. So we have a lot of SEO content as well as social media content, and of course, outreaching. I'll be going to those private equity firms, talking to them, even cold outreaching as well too. So that's the the essential initial go to market for that.
Beautiful. So I'm always curious, when you look at your kind of journey so far, lead up into the previous experience into this business, starting to grow it and build it and things like that. What have been kind of the top lessons that you've learned along the way in terms of kind of understanding business and now being in the startup world?
Uh, Top lessons. I feel like uh, I think one of the most important things for a company is really picking a good team, picking people who you trust, people who have your benefit in their mind, and vice versa. I think that's one of the core things. And I think when you can work with people who have a strong who believe in your vision as well too, and who you can really work well with, I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned. I think that's very important. I think one of the other things too is that you're never really going to be ready. I've invested a lot of my own money. There are always struggles when it comes to this, and I think one of the biggest things is to essentially be able um, uh, to be able to like really just push through it. Like there are always tough times, but I feel like if you don't quit, then there's light at the end of the tunnel. So I think those are my biggest things. But yeah.
Very cool. Well, let's shift over to a few rapid fire questions. I always love to kind of pull out just a few extra wisdom nuggets for the audience, things like that, so they can kind of take it, use it, and especially as we go into the weekend, that sort of thing. So, when you look at kind of your journey overall, starting a number of years ago, getting into kind of the tech side and then finance and everything else, what would you say for you has been kind of your key to success? Any kind of traits, routines, things that you can kind of point to in your own life that you feel contributes to your ability to be successful?
Uh, I think it's really become just being obsessed, honestly. Every single time I've looked into companies and to invest at, every single time I've looked into different economic cycles, just being obsessed, reading books, reading about the company, really going down into yeah, really into that. I guess I'll give some examples. When I originally started executing the thesis, I was looking into, okay, what are the things that have high probability of coming about in the future? Um, what did I write when I was 17 years old? It's like, okay, I predicted we'll have self-driving cars, we'll have AGI, we'll have I believe we'll live in a world where we'll have an energy surplus, given renewable energy and given so much energy the sun has. And then I started really becoming obsessed with finding companies that do that. Which ones have competitive advantage? Which ones are early? Which ones are people talking bad about right now that I believe people are not really looking into. So I just became obsessed with all of that, as well as really just learning. And I think that essentially allowed me to make really good investment decisions and over the long term, which has achieved great returns so far. So far, our returns are 31% annualized. The average Wall Street fund is a hedge fund over the last 5 years is 7.5%. So I think we're doing pretty well given the obsession. I think that's one of the things.
Cool. How about advice? If you could give other entrepreneurs advice, just leave them with just one piece. I'm sure you could give more than one, but if you could just leave them one piece of advice today, what would you want to give them?
Uh, Never quit. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel. I think you should, if you truly believe in yourself, you truly believe in your vision, um, don't quit because even if you do struggle for the next 10 years, 20 years, at the end of the day, you'll still be working, but you'll be working on something that you really enjoy. And maybe when you turn 65, you'll retire, but and let's say it doesn't work out, you would have ended up working on something that you enjoyed versus something that you didn't. So I feel like just pushing through it and never quitting is the biggest advice.
Beautiful. Book
Mhm.
recommendations, especially being obsessed and reading and learning a whole bunch of different stuff. Any book recommendations you would give to the audience? They can be business or not business, anything that you feel kind of would be fun at this point. But any recommendations you give to the audience with regards to a book to read?
Uh, so I think one of my favorite books is The Future of Humanity by Michio Kaku. That's really what set things set things up for me. It really goes down into like the near term and the further long term, how we can expand into the solar system and uh, really improve humanity. And that really caught my attention, and I really like that book. It,
Very cool. I love it. I get to add another one on my list. I don't think I've read that one yet. So get to put it on the list. That's awesome. So before we get to the final question of the day that I always like to kind of wrap up these conversations on, for those in the audience, if they want to learn more about you, they want to kind of follow the work that you're doing, especially as you continue to grow and move forward with the business, where can we advise them to go for more information and make sure that they're all connected?
Yeah, so you can learn more at pearltech.xyz. And you can also follow my LinkedIn as well too. I'll be posting a lot of our thesis, a lot of our macroeconomic cycles, and yeah, I think that'd be a good way to learn more.
Excellent. Well, I will make sure to put both of those in the video description below. So for those that are watching, make sure you take a moment as soon as we wrap up the conversation here. Go click the links, check everything out, connect with Leander here on LinkedIn. Make sure you send him a message. Say, hey, saw you on the Business Spotlight. Great conversation. I just wanted to connect, all that kind of stuff, because that's one of my favorite things about this particular series is, get there, actually make some connections, things like that. So highly encourage you all to do so. But Leandro, as we finish off, I always like to end with this one final question, which is simply, what is most inspiring to you today?
Inspiring. I think there's a lot of problems in the world, and I think uh, just my vision to solve those problems, to help people out, to be able to um, like of course, as I mentioned before, not just make wealthy people already wealthy, but the general population wealthy. So I'm really inspired by helping people out. I think one of the most important things in the world are the people that we meet, the people that are out there. And what really inspires me is just bringing as much light as I can to that. That's really what wakes me up every day.
It's very cool. Well, Leandro, I want to say thank you again for taking the time. I greatly appreciate it. It's been fun to kind of hear, where you're at in your journey and excited to see where things go over the next couple of years. So thank you again for taking the time and being here a part of the Business Spotlight today.
Thank you as well. Appreciate it.